relax. We'll get into the heart. We'll get into the kidneys. All right, I think we're gonna get started in a recline bound angle pose. If you have a bolster around, then go for it, you know. If you don't have a bolster around, then I'm gonna suggest you take a blanket and roll it up a bit into like a little mini bolster. And then just place it on your mat and come to lie down. And we're gonna, I guess there are a few options here. So if it's like too early, oh, so good. If it's too early to find your reclined bound angle, soles of the feet together, knees wide, not there yet, you can always just extend your legs out long in a restorative fish kind of pose here. Just take a little bit of time to get yourself settled in. Hi, everybody who just arrived. Hey, Sandy.
Hi.
Hi. Good. Getting yourself, oh, and hit play on the music. I sort of forgot about that. I had a hard time paring this one down today, so we're going to just get it started right out of the gate.
Simplifies protection. Fix it, please.
And I felt, you know, it's really funny because I had this little bit of a crash, this little car accident. And prior to that happening, I had so many plans for what I was going to be doing with my time in the later part of last week and over the weekend. And it was as if my slate had been kind of wiped clean, right? As life events can do sometimes. So yesterday, I had the opportunity to just sit around, which is so nice sometimes, and look at these old magazines that I got in a barn sale back in the springtime, or, oh, I guess it was the winter, it was pre-pandemic. All these old, kind of like halfway moldy, hardcover Horizon magazines from the 60s and early 70s. They're just chock full of all kinds of amazing articles, and sometimes problematic articles about art and culture and history. And as I was looking through this one article about dance, I saw this beautiful photo of hands in a mudra, and it says, "My heart is a flame," or something like that. And then later on, I was watching these integral anatomy videos with Gil Hedley, who is just a really fantastic teacher. And we were looking at the heart. We were looking at an actual heart in a chest that had a bypass surgery. And he said that, you know, bypass surgery is a life-saving, wonderful thing. It allowed this donor to live to be, you know, probably into his mid-80s. But that bypass surgery, the way that they connect the bypass, is linear, and that our bodies are never linear. They're always kind of full of curves, right? And spirals and twists and more fractal geometry instead of Euclidean geometry. And so he just said something along the lines of like, the heart isn't meant to really be like this. It's meant to move, it's meant to dance. And this is kind of holding it down here. Other things can hold it down. And I just felt like those two things together were like, hello, this is what you'll be teaching tomorrow. Yeah. So here on your back in your recline bound angle or similar pose, it might be nice to stretch your arms out really wide just for a few moments. Our arms being, of course, the home of our heart meridian, where all of those surface points come up and can be accessed. And let's just take maybe 7 or 8 deep breaths into the length of our arms, from the shoulders to the fingertips, the underarms to the fingertips. Good. Taking a few big breaths now to acknowledge just the state of things today for yourself. How you're feeling physically and mentally, emotionally this morning. And if there's a little seed of a purpose or intention that you want to kind of place into your practice, it might be a nice time to do that. Thinking of the reasons why you practice, what it's all about for you, today at least. Good, last 3 deep breaths here. Okay. All right, and then let's start to come out of this just by gently rolling over to your side and removing the blanket or the bolster from underneath your back. And we're gonna come back to our backs, I think. Good. And as you come back to your back, let's just cross the arms, excuse me, over the chest and bring your elbows close to each other. Arrange your legs any way that makes sense. It might be nice to sort of like cross one of your legs over the other with the soles of your feet on the floor, almost as if you're in like the laziest eagle pose ever. You know? Good. And just take a couple deep breaths and feel the back plane of your body touching the floor and lifting up away from the floor. Good. Maybe just another 5 big breaths right here. Legs crossed in this way. Notice the flow of your breath this morning. And if it feels a little bit rapid or if it's really slow and sort of luxurious this morning. Good. And then if you have your legs crossed, just uncross them and move on over to the other side. And same thing with your arms. Just changing the cross of the arms here. And maybe it would feel good to sort of rock the upper body from side to side to help set that space in between your shoulder blades firmly into the floor. And then notice the position of your head and your neck. And a gentle draw of the chin towards the throat might be helpful. Let's take 7 breaths here. Good. And then coming on out of this, let's just take a moment to locate our strap. To have it nearby. We're not going to use it quite yet. But let's cross that right ankle over the left knee. And you might decide to stay right here in your figure four with your arms outstretched alongside you on the floor. Or if you want to hug that left thigh in towards the chest, that could also be really lovely this morning. And why don't we take 10 breaths or so in the simplest version of this, one of the simple versions of this pose. Taking notice of that right knee and your right ankle, your shoulders, your hips, and everything located in between the shoulders and the hips. Good. And then for another 10 breaths or so, why don't we grab a hold of our strap and just wrap it around the bottom of that left foot. And we're gonna straighten that left leg out nice and long here for kind of like a combination hamstring and hip opening pose. And let's think about taking that strap to our kidney 1 point. So that's just where the ball of your foot meets the arch of your foot. Okay, maybe you're even like really like working that strap back and forth across that area for a moment. Or maybe you want to hold in stillness here, and that's fine too. This grounding point. Great, let's take maybe 10 breaths right here. Good. 3 more deep breaths here. All right, and then let's go ahead and release that. Take the strap away. Let's unhook that right ankle from the left knee, and then we're just gonna slide our hips over to the right a little bit and drop our knees over to the left in this really like lazy and easygoing twist here. Yeah, and if you have that blanket roll nearby and your low back needs some support, you could place it in between the knees. Or maybe that right shoulder needs support and you place it under the shoulder. Let's stay a while here. Let's breathe for like 4 or 5 minutes into this twist. Good. And if you feel comfortable doing so, you might take your arms overhead and maybe loosely interlace your fingers and create this circle around your head with your arms. Yeah, and another thought is that you could grab a hold of elbows if you're feeling it, if your shoulders appreciate that sort of thing. And positioning your head in a way that feels really comfortable here. You might turn it, or it could be totally neutral, looking up. Good, about 10 more breaths here. Good, and then take your time to come on out of this. It might make sense for you to take like knees into chest or a little bit of a bridge pose for a minute or so, or even just come to lie in Shavasana or recline bound angle again. Or maybe you're craving some movement, a little rock along your spine a few times. Good. Yeah, whatever works here. Good, and then eventually we're gonna set our feet back down and cross that, ooh, I think left ankle over the right, yeah, there we go. And find your figure four, your easygoing figure four. It could be with that right foot planted or thigh into the chest. Let's stay here for 15 deep breaths or so with a little bit of movement or perfect stillness if that's what you need today. Good, and go ahead and just grab a hold of your strap. Loop it around the bottom of that right foot. Yeah, looking for your kidney 1 point. So right there at the ball of the foot, right where the ball meets the arch. Yeah, a little bit of that like side to side movement if it suits you and feels good on your foot. I know I like it. Or some stillness if that's what you prefer. 10 breaths or so. Good, last 2 or 3 breaths. Perfect. Go ahead and let's set that left foot back down on the floor. Yeah, take the strap away. Lazily slide those hips over to the left and drop your knees on over to the right. Good. At first, just setting up your arms in a way that feels really nice for your shoulders and elbows. And it might even mean that you take your hands and place them on your own body in this act of self-soothing, in this act of reminding yourself that you're here in your body, feeling your breath. And sticking around for a few minutes here. Good, and for the last maybe half of this pose, if you wanted to wrap your hands up and take your arms over your head in that little bit of circle, that might be nice. Yeah, maybe even grabbing a hold of your elbows. Good, finding that twist with the arms overhead and just breathing deeply into whatever this feels like. Which I know sometimes can be maybe a little bit intense, but this is how we get into those deeper layers of connective tissue. By moving in a little bit more every time. Good. Last 3 deep breaths here. Good. And then from here, there are a couple of options. You might roll over onto your side or come back onto your back. Just whatever feels like the best idea right now for your shoulders and hips. Taking a moment to be still or to move in the ways that make sense to you. A little wiggle around. Good. You know what? I just had a thought, which is that actually we're going to roll over onto our bellies. So getting there, you know, in the next 7 or 8 breaths, there's really no rush. Finding your way into your belly and right into a Sphinx pose, I'm thinking. I feel like Sphinx is kind of the way to go right now. Good. And as you take your Sphinx, bringing your elbows right under your shoulders or thereabouts. And if it makes sense for you to drop the head and the chin, down towards the chest and give your head a little wave from side to side, roll around, go for it. Maybe today you want to keep your head lifted, and that's fine too. And noticing the weight of your pelvis onto the floor. The kidney meridian runs up the front side of our body, kind of like on either side of our belly button. There are 2 lines. And then it wings out a little bit into the sides of the rib cage, almost like this little frame for your heart. And so the kidneys are said to be in charge of our fear response. And if you think about this, it's really like very closely linked to what we understand about the kidneys in Western science. We've got our adrenal glands right there on the top of our kidneys and the actual organs. Our adrenal glands secreting all kinds of hormones that help us to run away, right, when things are pretty crazy. Yeah. Our fight or flight response comes from this place. So just taking a little bit of time to maybe feel that squeeze of your actual physical kidneys at your lower back, but also that opening along the line of the kidney meridian in the front body. Noticing how the stability of the arms, where the heart meridian is, supports you here. Good. If you like a seal pose, you're welcome to do that. You're welcome to press into the hands, straighten through those elbows, lift them way up. Good. Taking maybe 5 breaths or so in this shape. And then your choice for what's next. It might be back into child's pose, or you might take hands and knees for some cats and cows, or maybe you're feeling a puppy pose with your hips above your knees and your arms outstretched. Or there could be a down dog here for you. Lots of choices today, but I think that like after a certain amount of practice, you definitely get to like, you know, get a feel for what your body actually needs and wants, and this is your time to honor that. So do you need some stillness and passivity? Have you been running on all cylinders? Burning the candle at both ends? Conversely, have you been feeling kind of stuck? Do you need to move that energy? Have you been feeling rigid? Do you need some fluidity? Have you been feeling a little weak and need some strength? What is it? Good, yeah, down dog might make way, lead to plank pose or something like that if you're feeling it. Good, and we're not going to be here forever and ever and ever, but eventually we are going to scoot ourselves back into a child's pose and hang on to that child's pose for a little bit. So this could be another nice place to grab a hold of like a block and a little blanket roll and build this little platform for your chest perhaps. Sometimes I like to do this and just kind of like curl up around something. Good. Sometimes it's nice to place something in between the hips, or sorry, the sitting bones and the heels. If you've got lots of props, dive in, it might feel right. Good. And let's stay here. Let's stay for a little bit. Your knees can be wherever they need to be so that they're comfortable, your hips are comfortable. Just taking some time to breathe. And breathe into that space of the lower back that houses your kidneys. And to breathe into the back of your heart as well, right in between your shoulder blades. A really beautiful and interesting thing I learned over the course of these trainings I've been taking is that your heart is surrounded by this fascial sac called the pericardium. And the pericardium connects directly to your diaphragm, that breathing muscle, right? Which was initially a muscle for stabilization. But as yogis know that it's for conscious breathing too. And every time you take a deep breath in and that diaphragm moves downward with your lungs filling up, you're actually drawing your heart downward, like quite a bit. Your heart is moving too. As your lungs fill, they kind of spiral in on the heart and give it a little hug, a little squeeze. And as you exhale, everything kind of sets itself back into its normal place. And so when we talk about, our breathing practice being an expansive practice, it truly does expand the reach of our heart within our physical body. And I also believe outside of our physical body. So let's focus on taking these really beautiful deep breaths. Giving your heart that little bit of a stretch. Good. Another 7 breaths here in your child's pose. Really tuning into the back of your body and the ways that it expands and contracts back. The subtle movement of your ribs. Right, and then we're gonna make our way into a standing forward fold next, which might mean that you shift back into your downward dog briefly or up onto hands and knees, or maybe you just wanna like sit up and drink some tea or water or something. But eventually, yeah, we will all find that standing forward fold. And I wanna give you a few options here too. Okay, this could be a standing forward fold with your feet kind of close, maybe like hip socket distance-ish, or you might step them out real wide. And this will also help to get into the kidney meridian, which runs on the inside line of the leg here. So taking a moment to figure it out. What's gonna suit you best this morning? The wide angle or the feet close together? Good. Oh yeah, I see some movement here too. If you're in that wide angle and you want to take some like deep knee bends from side to side, that could be lovely. Yeah, or twists or whatever you want to toss in there. Ooh, you guys, I'm feeling inspired just by watching what you're doing. Yeah, and I see you who are all being still as well. It's also really lovely. Good, taking time here just to let the head hang way down, let it go. Good, letting the hips be the highest part of you. Heels plugged into the floor. And see if mentally you can kind of bring your attention back down into your kidney 1 point right there at the place where the ball of your foot meets the arch, just in line with your second toe. This place of grounding. Perfect. Why don't we stay here for another, let's say 2 minutes or so. Yeah, halfway lifts are welcome. If you want to tug on your hair, pull your hair a little bit as you fold forward, that's also welcome. And standing yoga mudra with your hands interlaced behind your back, knuckles pressing up towards the ceiling might just be the thing too to kind of wake up that heart meridian a little bit. Beautiful, everyone. Yeah. Oh, so nice. Last few deep breaths. Good, and then very slowly, we're gonna roll ourselves all the way up to standing. And we're gonna press into our feet for a few moments here with the tennis ball. So yeah, you might take a big like morning stretch, reaching those arms up and a little swing around if that suits you. But eventually, just getting yourself good and relaxed, and maybe you're swinging those arms a little bit here too. Maybe you wanna swing them side to side. Maybe it's front to back. Just allowing for a little bit of freedom through the shoulders and the elbows and the wrists while feeling both of your feet on the floor. Maybe even like slapping your kidneys a little bit if your arms will allow for that. Taking your hands to the back of your body. Good, and then kind of slow the swing. And end up in the middle. Let's take that tennis ball underneath the right foot. And at first, we're just gonna find the, again, the kidney 1 point and press into it. So set your heel on the floor. And we're just gonna take that tennis ball right into the space between the arch and the ball, right around your second and third toe, and press in. And how does that feel this morning? Every morning my feet are like, wow, that's a lot. Yeah, once it feels like the right time to begin some broad strokes, then just move the tennis ball up and down your foot, up and down your arch. Again, just allowing for whatever sensation that comes up to be there, and watching how it behaves. Does the sensation dissipate a little bit with time? Does it feel pretty intense the whole way through? Or maybe it's like not too much of anything, you know? We're all so different. Good. All right, a few more breaths with these broad strokes. And then let's just set the right foot back down on the floor. Take your hands alongside you, palms facing forward in a kind of like a traditional mountain pose. This pose of stability and sturdiness. And why don't we take a mudra here too, actually. Let's take a Abhaya mudra. Abhaya mudra is just you taking your right hand like this, up in front of you. Your palm facing forward. And your left hand is down like this. So Abhaya mudra is the mudra of no fear. Yeah, let me get a little closer to the screen here. Just like this. Good. Feeling your feet on the floor, feeling steady. Both palms forward. No fear. And 3 more breaths. Right, and then just release those hands, roll the wrists around for a moment. Our heart meridian has 3 points in the wrist and some in the hands too, so the wrists are really important here. Just take a moment with them. As you take that tennis ball to your kidney, 1 point, heel to the floor, and just press down and into it. And another thought is that you could take your right hand around your left wrist and just give yourself this sort of like circular massage around the wrist. Just something kind of gentle. It might mean that you move your left hand along with it, or maybe the left hand is kind of still as you move the right fingers around the left wrist. All while that left foot is plugging into the tennis ball. Good, and then take your left fingers around your right wrist and same thing. Same thing here. Just a couple more breaths before we find those broad strokes with the left foot on the tennis ball. Oh my God. Moving the tennis ball up and down. Yeah, hands might come to the hips or the heart or just hang alongside you. A few moments like this. Nice, everyone. All right, and then let's go ahead and just kind of kick the tennis ball over there and out of the way. And we'll take both of the feet to the floor. And let's take Abhaya mudra one more time. So right palm faces forward, left palm also faces forward. Right fingers are up and left fingers are down. And feeling steady in your feet, feeling those shoulders relaxed away from the ears. And see if you can locate the very center of your chest and detect your heart beating. Good, one more breath. All right, let's inhale and sweep those arms up and overhead, a big stretch. And exhale to fold forward over 2 long legs. And if you want to step back into a downward facing dog, again, that's a thought. It's a place you could go before curling yourself up into a child's pose. And coming to sit up on your heels. So we're just, moving really slowly into a seated position here next. Take your time. There is no rush at all. And I want to offer up another seated forward fold here, which we're going to hold on to for a little bit, maybe 5 minutes or so. So you might think about what you chose when we were doing our standing forward fold. Was it the fold with your feet sort of close together, or was it the fold with the feet wide? You might just have your legs extended out nice and long in front of you, or maybe you want to take a wide angle. And then of course there's always a butterfly, if you're feeling like the butterfly. And that would be nice for the kidney meridian too. So, oh, and another thought, maybe a butterfly with arms crossed, that's both kidneys and heart. Yeah, so just, choosing your own adventure here. As always, there's no wrong answer, right? And you get to decide what feels best in your body, and what you want to kind of pursue here. Good, but whatever you decide on, one of the principles of yin yoga is committing to some stillness, right? Which I know is not always like the easiest thing to do. Many days I struggle with that myself. And so just doing what you can to be here with yourself in whatever state you are in. Tired or energetic. And feeling full or feeling empty. Jangly or at ease. One of the sweetest qualities of the heart meridian in traditional Chinese medicine is this idea of acceptance and self-love. So observing, accepting, and just loving what's here right now. Just about another 10 to 15 breaths. Yeah, you could always switch up your seated fold as well if you've had enough here and you'd like to move into a different variation. Do that thing. And it might even mean that you take a little like back bend in between, or even like a reverse tabletop if that serves you or feels right, before setting yourself back down into a different forward fold. And last 5 breaths or so here. Good, yeah. You know what to do after this, a little bit of a back bend, or maybe you're ready to roll right down onto your back for your final pose. Perhaps as you make it to your back, you want to take something like a restorative bridge pose. That might feel good after all that forward folding. Maybe you want to revisit that reclined bound angle with a little bit of spinal support. You just check in with your body, figure out what it's asking for. And if you don't know, there's always Shavasana, right? So settling in into this final shape, arranging your limbs so that you are comfortable. It's said that our heart houses this thing called the Shen, which is otherwise known as our spirit, right? And it's said that when Shen is strong within us, that our eyes shine. When our heart is strong, our eyes shine. And we are alive with possibility and attuned to wonder and curiosity. This morning I opened up my poem of the day email. And it's this really beautiful poem, really short and sweet, by Myra Viola Wild. It's called Dewdrops. She wrote, "Watch the dewdrops in the morning, shake their little diamond heads, sparkling, flashing, ever moving from their silent little beds. See the grass, each blade is brightened. Roots are strengthened by their stay. Like the dewdrops, let us scatter gems of love along the way." I love that idea of scattering little gems of love along the way. And how we can do that for ourselves, for others, as our world is really in need of that right now. And breathing into this body that you have just nourished and built up with your practice. Breathing these slow, sweet breaths. And remembering that little seed that you planted at the beginning of your practice. That idea about why you practice, what it's for today, and maybe even beyond today. Remembering the importance of watering your own garden, so to speak. And checking in with yourself. You can begin to make some little baby movements with your body. And those small movements turn into something bigger. And those bigger movements turn into you coming into a seated position at some point. Great. Sitting up nice and tall and just taking a look at each other, and let's connect our hands to our heart in a way that feels like the right way. So sometimes I like to take my fingers and kind of, this is maybe a little bit uncomfortable, but I kind of like to dig my fingers into those spaces in between my ribs here. Maybe you just want something sweet like this. Your hands resting on your heart, whatever you're into. And just take a couple breaths with that hand to heart connection. Your spine nice and long, you're sitting up tall, and maybe we're all looking at each other during this time. Or not, you can always close your eyes too. Just taking a couple of deep breaths. Great, and then when you're ready, take your hands and just set them gently on the heart, drop the head down, honoring your practice and honoring each other. Oh, happy Sunday, everybody. It was really, really lovely to see all of your faces.